if you have to change your social location to change your emotion, then you are just being weak. You should be able to overcome that emotion. So
that overcome emotion, that seems crazy to me. I'm just going to say, let me just start there.
Okay.
I'll be, let me just be very clear. I am not a clinician.
Sure. Yeah. I mean,
so
but
no one should take this
somewhat
advice.
of an expert. So, okay.
I think about this. Yes.
Yeah.
I read things.
Yeah.
I've been studying psychology for a little while.
Exactly.
A little while.
Well, don't worry. We're going to give your bio in the intro because you are now downplaying it. Okay. We have experts only on this podcast. Okay.
Yeah, I think there are people who study emotion, and I assume if you haven't, you should have someone on that talks about emotion. It's fascinating. There's how do you evaluate a situation that can produce the emotion, right? It's they would call appraisal, right?
Okay.
How do you appraise a situation? But overcoming an emotion, I don't know what that means. I think when I talk to people, I do think that you should separate the emotional experience from the behavior that must follow.
Yes.
I think but that's not overcoming anything. And I think that your emotional experience, because it's tied to the way you understand what's happening. So two people could have the same experience. One person could get mad about it. The other person could be completely unmoved by it.
Mm-hmm.
So the emotion is not about the situation. It's about your experience of it, your understanding of it. Right?
Yes. 100%.
Right. And if you change your location, how you understand situations will shift. And so it will change your emotional response to the same things because you will understand them differently because you will be different, not because the situation will be.
But what if my response to that is how do I word this? By trying to shift your experience or if I want to improve my experience, my internal experience, the emotions I'm experiencing, if I do that through changing my social location, I am giving up my authority, autonomy over my emotions, right? I'm saying that I am dependent on the situation as opposed to being reliant on my ability to handle the situation or interpret it the way I would like.
No, I just think it's what's the mechanism for interpreting it the way you would like? You think it's somehow in your head that you think I can just decide to interpret it differently.
Yes, there you go.
Maybe, but I'm saying that almost certainly if you put yourself in a different situation, you will interpret it differently. I don't know better. I'm not, just to be clear, it could be worse. You have to be thoughtful, but when you're thinking of yourself as a husband or father, the way you're going to experience certain things will be different than when you're thinking of yourself as a podcaster, or when you're thinking of yourself as an alien in a suit, right? That movement through your life will change how you respond to different aspects of your life or different situations. And what I'm saying is, once you know that's true, you could decide to use that. It's a tool that you are using that to manage your experience of the world.
Because the reason I'm pushing is not only do I agree, I think, but I want to agree and I want it to be the answer. And here's why. It seems easier. So if I'm in a tough situation, if I go to, let's just use, because I know it the best. If I go to an office building that causes a lot of feelings of anxiety, and then there's another office building that I know does not cause those feelings, it is easier for me to just go to the other office than to deal with the emotion in the one that causes anxiety.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you can also do things here's an example of changing where you are. I just thought of this now. Don't take it too seriously.
Yeah, sure.
So, if you're going to the office building where you feel uncomfortable, maybe this is, you put on a suit and tie. People engage with you differently. You're a different person in that situation. The physical situation is the same. You have changed the nature of the social situation, and maybe you don't feel the same kind of anxiety. Not because it's not like the suit and tie made the anxiety go away. It shifted how people engage with you, which shifted who you were, which changed the experience. So I think there's all sorts. I think people, when I say where, this is why you have to understand that term very broadly. right? It's like where I mean the social situation, which often is hugely influenced obviously by the physical location, but that's not the only thing that influences the social location. When I walk into a room as a professor, it's different than when I walk into the room just as a black guy. That's a different social situation. I'm in different places and I will have different experiences of those places.
Right. In a sense, it there's part of this that makes me think of the idea of use your sensations, experiences, emotions as a guide to where you want to be, which I do agree with. Is that something you talk about or have thought about?
Yeah, I don't really talk about it that much, but I do think there's information and emotion for sure, and you can pay attention to that. I think that people sometimes, this is just my opinion, and again, I'm not an emotions researcher, but I think as a human being, I think that people sometimes interpret emotions as commands as opposed to information,
Mm-hmm.
right? To be acted on.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so if you go into a situation and you feel anxious, I think there's information. There's certainly information in that, and what I'm pointing to is you can respond to that by doing things that change how other people understand you. You can also leave that situation, but you can, if you change how people understand you in that situation, it's going to change you in a way that will probably shift your experience.